No, I guess for those that don't know us, it's like we kind of did it loosely, did a show based loosely off of holidays, holiday themes and traditions and how people handle holidays, day-to-day life and expectations of holidays and feelings surrounding those. It's not any in particular. It's totally collaborative between Shawn and myself. Pretty low. I'm going to give a brief introduction if anyone has questions. Might be a little bit more beneficial or easy.
Wait, did you say everything is collaborative?
Yeah.
I didn't know if you said that.
Yeah. Does anyone have a question on anything in particular, or concept, or?
Is everything collaborative?
Hey, Shawn, I don't know. Is everything collaborative?
Yeah.
Is each work like pertaining to holiday themes, or are there just certain aspects, like something being red and green that hints at a holiday?
Yeah, I think like color. We talked a
Yeah,
lot about
color.
color and like how like certain colors together can have a certain significance, even though they're just colors. Like we immediately register that as a Christmas painting, I guess, even though it's just red and green.
Yeah.
Which, not really strange, just kind of like we talked about, like how we're all ingrained with this kind of sentiments. Particularly just like our culture, because you could go somewhere else and red and green probably wouldn't hold the same significance.
What's your favorite holidays?
Halloween. Yeah, it's pretty easy. Trying to think if there's anything we should like really particularly elaborate on.
Are there certain holidays that you focus on over others? Why?
The main ones like Easter, Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving.
And everything was kind of like jammed together too. I don't think there's a particular one that's like, this is like, well maybe the video's a little bit like kind of, for us, Thanksgiving. That's like a Thanksgiving video. But other than that, I think everything was kind of like a mix match. Oh, this is this, and this is why this is this. It's kind of like just more like a jump off point.
It definitely seems like the other holidays you guys mock a little more, as with like Halloween is more like celebrated amongst you guys. Like, for instance, like the witch hat, it's just that it's not really altered in any way. It's just perfect the way that it is. But with like other things, you like put it in these really awkward situations and like either try to cover what it is or hide it in a way, like hybriding it or like making it a hybrid with something else like camo. So like mock like who would keep up a tree for like months on end or something along those lines.
Yeah. We didn't really want to give away like, okay, this is Christmas, that's Halloween. We kind of wanted to hide the fact of like that. Like, like we didn't want to say like, okay, this is Christmas.
I mean, I don't even really consider that to be a Christmas thing. It's more or less like kind of like the general like feeling with some holidays, or like kind of like how some people feel. It's kind of this strange like kind of like sad clown type situation where it's like this like comedy and tragedy type thing, I guess, with the goofy painting. So I think that was more or less that, and then the colors just kind of seemed they make sense in that.
Yeah, there were like a couple words like between you and I, like porch, stuck, windows. Those, I mean, for me, those were like floating around in my head while I was doing the work.
Yeah, kind of like family type stuff. Like I think we were interested in that too. Like maybe with like the curtains and like lamps and stuff, flags, things that you would have like in or around your home. This is like kind of like keynote of it. Which I think kind of like blurs the lines a little bit more, makes it less like we didn't just want to use like like tinsel. We didn't just want to use like ornaments, things like that were super like. I mean, aside from maybe like the witch hat and like to me like the pieta, like this sculpture, everything else is kind of more coded and less like, oh, this is an object for a holiday.
Has your work commented at all about kind of like suburban holiday decorations as being kind of like the suburban almost art like genre that people just kind of consumerism art versus what you're trying to say with the different holiday pieces?
Yeah, I think we totally talked about that, how like rich people have like nice, they have like nice decorations, and then there's like the poor people, I guess, that would have the kind of like lawn ornaments that'd be a little bit like not as nice, and how you can almost tell someone's status by their holiday decorations, or like you can tell someone's, maybe not even status, but also like their particular interests, their beliefs, and things like that by their decorations. You can kind of read a lot about a person from what they put outside their house, I think. And if someone doesn't have decorations, you're like, why don't they have decorations? Like, what's wrong with them? But then if they have it up for too long, it's like, why do they still have it up?
As far as like creating them, besides the painted pieces, like some of them, the objects are like, I don't know, are they like more organic? Like you kind of go along, or is there like a clear concept? Like I'm going to put this lamp on like weird red fabric and put like, it's going to turn on and we're going to paint a side, or we're going to spray paint, this like piece that's like meant to hold another thing. Like, did you like have that in mind, or did you just like go along like with it?
We went along with it.
Yeah. I would definitely say that there's particular things that were kind of set in stone. Literally set in stone. No, but and then we would like maybe like especially with that thing, and like the pedestal was more or less kind of like the fact of the matter. We're like, oh, let's just do this, and like Shawn rearranged that yellow thing probably like 400 times in the back of the grid thing. So it was more or less like what we had around, how we could play with it. But now I think they're done. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Can you talk more about when you like expand on the notion of like holidays being the jumping off point? Like how does that like enter into the process of making them? Is that where you start, or is that kind of where you propel these objects that you've already started making?
I think when we started, before we even like applied to the show, I think I brought up that I realized both our work seemed very seasonal, and like I felt like when I was doing paintings, like on Halloween, I was like putting Halloween colors in, or like putting Halloween like figures in, and I just thought maybe like you just really liked holidays.
Yeah. I also think it was like, as far as the initial concept, we're like, okay, holidays. So what else comes along with that? Like, what's the baggage with that? And I think it did inspire, like, well, it totally inspired everything we made here, I would say, since we made everything. Except maybe, like, I know you were working on some paintings alongside what we were working on, but everything else is made, like, explicitly for this. So it was definitely, like, does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely.
Can you repeat all the stuff that I asked?
Well, as a joke, it's a collaboration. We just said that like 20 times already.
So it seems like that there's this imposition of geometricization that happens in all of the pieces. So in everything, there's this, whenever there's any kind of randomness, there's an instance where this sort of grid or rectilinear forms have sort of imposed themselves. So either the framework of the ceiling there, or the squareness of these things, or the frame of the TV and the grid of the chair, the grid, it seems like there's constantly this reimposition of that. And there's, a history of trying to order the unordered by imposing a grid on the world. So can you talk a little bit about how that sort of works? Is it just a function of the mechanization of sort of society, or do you feel like that's something that you both work within and play against?
I think the whole grid thing was kind of an accident. We didn't realize how many
We realized it. We were like,
Yeah,
this is
we
a
did.
lot of grids.
But when I was thinking about this show, I was thinking a lot about this system that we're all stuck in, like the word stuck is, I was thinking about a lot, like the heads being stuck in like this system that we're stuck in, like we feel like we have to like put up decorations or like we feel the need to celebrate these holidays. So I guess that's what came in, and like just calendars.
And then I also like, yeah, between calendars and that, I also was thinking like homes, like bricks. Like there's like these buildings, there's these places for this, like especially in that painting, I think it's like, those are bricks. The cinder blocks obviously are bricks. There's like the stones, it's like these kind of like, we talked a lot about like light and heavy, ended up kind of like coming up a lot too. So things are light, things are heavy, and a lot of the things that look heavy are actually light in here, and it's kind of like this like back and forth, like what is real, what's not real, what's important, what's not important, what's heavy, what's light, you know. So
Just for me, just for sake of discourse, when you brought up the grids, I think I kind of realized, like, formally, maybe, or just like visually, the grid is just a tool of design, and maybe that's sometimes how it plays in. It's maybe a little less conceptual and just like a formal tool you guys use to design things. I don't know, you both of your works sort of have these design elements, and they're, to me, well designed, and even the relationship with space, like especially this little setup is like situated in space, like in relation to some grid of some sort. So I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think that could?
I mean, I definitely design a lot of stuff. Like I think
yeah.
I spend more time designing than I do building things. So I think that definitely plays in. It's like arrangement in a certain,
Just how you
organizing. It's like, because if you don't organize, if this wasn't organized in a certain way, in kind of almost like a grid-like functional way, it wouldn't make any sense. You know, it's like understanding the design of objects as well as two-dimensional things. Anything else?
So just to follow up, so do you feel like the works that seem more sort of organic or expressive or more like maybe like the treatise, are they like a contrast to that notion of the orderly structure that the grid imposes maybe artificially? Or are you feeling like you're trying to work within the grid as a structure that was self-developed? So are you trying to show it so that you can break it, or are you trying to show it so that you can hold within it?
Wait, can you say that one more time?
Was it too much of like an art professor question? So you talked about the fact that the grid is an element, and it was a conscious element. So do you say
no, it was not a conscious.
Oh, it wasn't conscious.
We realized it later.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, I think myself, I enjoy like the accidents and the mistakes and bring them out a little bit more. So that's probably why you see it a lot more.
Maybe that's also like kind of what makes the accidents more prevalent, is kind of like these like structural things with like some kind of accident going on. It's like, oh, that's kind of off a little bit, like that cement tomb type shape. It's like a really pretty decent rectangular thing, but just like jetting that thing in there, kind of crooked, but it's still not totally crooked where it doesn't make any sense, you know? It's like almost perfectly halfway in, and it's like at a certain angle, but there's still something jarring about like interrupting some kind of system. I think it's, yeah, maybe it's more subconscious than conscious. I think that's what I'm looking
Do you have any comments on like the negative space that the art creates, like as far as like turning like a gallery wall into a living room wall, or even like podium versus like the little chair as like something that like rising something up, or how like even the cord kind of becomes part of the exhibit, like this implication of like plugging something in, and versus like religious plugging in, and it's this idea of having to plug something in and turn something on to make it like work, or like the Christmas lights.
I think we both are pretty interested in like everything that we're using, like taking away kind of like they're like, oh, how did they do that frills? You know what I mean? I think we're both kind of like okay with like, oh yeah, that's a chord, and like, it's kind of like, and there's also something that's like kind of like homey, and like I was saying before, like kind of like cheaper, like someone that would like, you know, someone that had like a nice house, like in the suburbs would probably have like LED Christmas lights that are maybe wireless, but like someone maybe in like, where I grew up would have, you know, 14 extension cables running through. And I think there's something kind of cool about that, something kind of like familiar and like nice. And like a strange way, I always think it's kind of like welcoming and like kind of warm to have like these like, I don't know, something about things that you can kind of understand and like you're almost comfortable around, even though it's strange, that I like just like a t-shirt's nice to me, but like flowers are kind of nice to me because it's like home, like curtains, nice.
This keeps like stirring around in my head because I was just reading, you know, your artist statements and when you talk about holidays and just like this expectation of like decorating every season, someone's going to do something, but if they don't, it's kind of like, oh, well, where'd they go or what's wrong? Having said that, do you guys have any comments on like going to a show, like an art show, expectations to see things, especially where we live at, like in Columbus, the Short North District? We all can expect what we're going to see next gallery hop. What do you guys think about that?
I think what you're getting at is like the expectations of an art show. Is that what you're kind of getting at? Like, I mean, that's something we definitely talked about was like kind of like the comedy of working so hard for something that's like, you know, maybe a month. Like we're fairly privileged to have it up for a month, as we're usually it's like a couple days, and like everyone like stresses out and freaks out. It's the same way like your mom was baking cookies or something, and like the family's on their way. You know, you're like, shit, I gotta bake these cookies. I gotta get this done, and then you get it done. It's just like, oh, they're here. It's here. And then they're gonna eat it and then leave. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, and I just think about Columbus as well, and like, you know, like obviously where you're at as far as art as well. You know, Lloyd definitely does a lot more, way more than most of the galleries around here. Other, you know, obviously other than Mixer and Urban Art Space and Eagleton Donnie now, and there's elements in where it's just like this, like the prosthetic, like hair, like the fake trees or flowers and things that they seem so ridiculous because they could just be substituted with a real thing, but there's like this constant working towards making this thing that's kind of fake. I'm not saying that there's art in the Short North that's fake or things like that. I'm just concerned where we're at. It's just this, it's just really weird. Like, I don't know, I'm thinking like traditional and just rolling into like gallery. And I'm gonna find this like really weird impersonation of like.
Are you relating fake stuff to like landscape?
Yeah, and also where we're at.
And where we're at? I don't think we.
Yeah, but I think the art scene is just, I can expect to see the Monet, like impressionist, you know, add like things like that, and it's not going to change. But you know, but that also ties back into like seasonal.
I don't think we're trying to take any jabs at anybody or anything. Or
No, not like that.
I think we just. Martin's
I think you are. Not deliberately.
No, but I think it's really more or less probably just what we actually like enjoy. You know, less. I don't think either of us are big like finger pointers. You know, I would never be like, "You're wrong. This is wrong. This doesn't make sense." Or like, I mean, maybe to some people this might look kind of bratty. Or yeah, or like kind of like out of the blue. But I think it makes sense for us. It's not. I don't think we're trying to rag on anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at
Maybe
the
we
same
did.
time, like, I see that, like, are you talking about, like setting up a show, sort of like setting up, like, your house with decorations, like, this sort of, like, ephemeral part of it? And so it sort of seems like to set up the the show like that is sort of like, that's like what all gallery shows are, in a way?
Yeah.
Decorating your house.
Yeah, it definitely has that feeling. And then with like I can expect to see this and this, especially out of Halloween decorations, there's an expectation, like he's gonna put up the, weird inflatable with flailing arms ghost, or the drop down zombie on the porch every time
Classic.
Yeah, exactly, or something like, you guys this weird flag on your house with a vampire or something like that. There's like, I feel like, I'm not talking about specifically just your guys' house or decorations, but like, just notice a lot more of that in this area of like art. And also it's elsewhere, just going to a show. The expectation, I'm going to see this. Like in the 80s with like, if there's not a Rothko or like a diner, I'm not going. Or like, this show sucks.
Still alive.
Exactly. So, with doing something not like this, it's just topic for discussion. You guys are on a good track. I'm also interested in how you guys work the space entirely, like with the butcher paper. I really liked this like nice little touch. When you talked about it, I thought you were just gonna cover the entire floor. I didn't know you guys were gonna like connect the dots.
We're working on it.
No, but that was like a nice little thing discovered along the way. That it wasn't so set in stone like a lot of things that are in this district. Like, I'm going to finish this portrait of a cow in a pasture.
Portrait of a cow.
And it's going to be that. Like, along the way, because I've even seen you guys work, and I've just noticed there's little things that will happen. Moments that just pick up on, like, yes, this is excellent. We knew we were going with this happened, and this is so much better. For instance, in the Goofy painting, you guys were deciding whether or not to stretch that on the opposing side because it was more interesting for some reason.
Yeah, I think that's legitimate. Like, it's something that you're working on. Like, say we did use the back of that, I think that's okay, because we still did it. Even if we didn't make it, it's okay. But, it's like you can flip it around, use the back, that's fine. We still made the back of that, technically, but we didn't use it, so. I think it's good to consider things like that. Makes it a lot. I don't know. Makes more sense to me. Good.
Right on.
Thanks.